Hello, and welcome to the Trophy Trust, a weekly podcast for PlayStation trophy hunters. I'm one of your hosts, Adezil, and joining me this evening we have Claire88.
How you doing, guys?
We also have DK,
Hey guys.
and we also have Void.
Hey guys.
And how is everyone this evening? Been a positive week for trophy hunting between the lot of you?
Yes,
That's been awesome.
yeah, definitely. Since the last episode, I said I was going to get the Final Fantasy 12 Platinum, and I have, so that's my difference.
Good. We'll get into that shortly. Just before we get any further, I'd just like to thank everyone who listened to the pilot episode or our very first episode. We had a lot of positive feedback. We got some constructive criticism. We've taken it all on board, and we are tweaking the show as we go, making it better. So thanks to everyone who did listen and shared it on their social networks. And it's been great. And as I said, we're working on it as we go along, fixing the audio, flattening out all the bumps as we go along. So just bear with us. We will get into the flow. And just stick with us. And we're going to get somewhere with this show. Don't you worry about that.
I also think it's important to mention that there's a lot of people for our Discord users who are live and listening to us right now as well. So thanks for them, guys, for tuning in as well. For sticking around and listening as well. So.
Yeah, so at the moment, we record this in our PlayStation Discord server, and we're using the VoIP to record all of our audios together. And Claire, he edits the show together. And right now we have a podcast channel, and people are listening to this live at the moment, and they can comment in the chat, which we can all individually see. So we've got a sort of live audience, if you will. So that's something quite interesting. To us as well, so people can audience participation, at least on our end. But Claire, you're doing something along the lines of screen capture, aren't you?
Yeah, we have uploaded the pilot episode as a video, but there was just a normal backdrop on it. But now the video will actually be replaced with the channel and the comment channel here. So, and then we'll just extract the audio and then upload that separately. So, I mean, if you're listening to this separately by just the audio and you want to come in and join in through the live chat or whatever and interact with everybody else, we're going to be doing this kind of as a weekly thing going forward. So I think it's a great idea. I'm glad it's working pretty well. So I hope it really takes off.
Okie dokie. Well, okay, let's move on to our first segment, what we've actually been playing this week. So, you know what, the newest person on our podcast this week, Void, how about you go first? You tell us what you've been playing this week.
Yeah, this week I've been playing Gauntlet. I've been grinding the game and got a new ultra rare platinum.
Okay.
And I've been playing Transistor, another of the Super Giant games. Beautiful game.
That was I remember that was one of the very first PlayStation Plus games offered on PS4 around the launch window, I believe. I remember claiming it, but I never personally played it. Never really interested me enough. But I do have it. I did claim it, so maybe one day I'll go into it. How would you say it is for a game, just off the top of your head? What type of game is it? For those who may not have looked into it.
It's extremely it's really original. I would say all the games that they do, it's really, really interesting. There is the fighting, the way the fighting work is a little bit like in Fallout, the VATS butts, where you can stop time and you can move and do a couple of abilities, and you have something around 12 abilities, I think, that you can mix together that have different effects. So you have really a lot of option and a lot of technique you can do.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Is that all you've done this week so far?
Yeah. I got the other platinum trophy, but it was smaller.
So what's your total platinum trophy count for this week? How many did you get this week?
Oh, for this week? That's a good question. Probably something around 8.
So you got 8 this week?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive indeed. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people will be like, how did you do that 8 a week?
Oh, I got 7.
Makes it a little bit more acceptable.
Okay, well then moving on then. Claire, what have you been playing this week?
Pretty much the same games as last week, because they're all really long-term games, and I've only actually just added new games. So I haven't, like, the only thing I've managed to actually finish was just that last stretch of Final Fantasy 12. Finishing the full beastery, we had to like kill one of every enemy in the game, including the rare game. So I only really got that finished. So 1 platinum for me last week, I think, and that was it. And I only added games to the pile. So like I said, I've only just stuck in the back pile. I haven't finished anything else.
Okay, fair enough. DK, is there anything you'd like to add to this section?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned on the last episode that I was going to finish up Ghost Recon Wildlands, so the second DLC, which I did. So I'm now back to 100% on that game. Unfortunately, I don't think there's more DLC coming, at least nothing that has trophies. So I'm kind of looking for a new co-op game to jump into, potentially just waiting until Destiny 2 comes out for a co-op thing. And then, yeah, I've been working a lot and playing games for work, so those I'm not going to mention.
Okay, of course. All right, well, I guess that just leaves me then. Well, I mentioned last week I was playing Rime. I've now finished and platinumed that. Fantastic game in terms of art style and story, and very moving game. I really enjoyed it. As I mentioned prior, no, I didn't. That was Oxenfree. I was thinking of something different. Then I didn't mention this prior, but the collectibles were very straightforward, really, in terms of finding them. I used a video guide. Some of them are tucked away, tucked quite out of the way, actually. Some places I wouldn't even think of looking. So I'm glad that there's plenty of video guides out there on YouTube to help me along in just in trophy hunting in general. So yeah, Rime was done. So that's 1 platinum. I then tried Energy Cycle, and I feel really kind of dirty about getting it. It's like it's one of those games where it's just infamous for having an easy platinum. It was like a smartphone game. It's a puzzle style game. I think everyone on the Discord server has this platinum or platinums because it's on PS Vita and it's also on PS4 as well. It's basically just turn all the orbs the same color, and every time you press an orb, the entire row or column of orbs changes color. So you have to have one solid color.
Is it separate? Is it stackable? Like, is it separate on US and European versions?
I believe it is, because I remember someone posting in the Discord server 4 different trophy lists, all underneath each other on their.
Yeah, there is one on
profiles
on PlayStation 4 and Vita, and they added 2 new lists on PSN profile this week. So we should be able to have 4 stacks.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they've been released already, but crazy.
Yeah. It has a glitch. Basically, you can glitch the game to get the platinum trophy very easily. It has a I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's different modes, like endless mode and then like something else mode, and you can just glitch it by just like tapping X really quickly as you complete a puzzle, and it kind of glitches the game through different stages into the trophy requirements of complete 50 levels, complete 30 levels, etc., and then you have to do the 28 sort of. I think it's 28. It's definitely under 30. Basically preset levels that aren't randomly generated, but there's plenty of guides out there. I got through that in about 10 minutes using a guide. I feel really dirty for getting it, but I was curiosity. I had to try it for myself, and I did.
Yeah,
it was like £2 or just over £2 on the PlayStation UK store, and I just wanted something to play on Vita, and yeah, so.
They say it's really a glitch, but it's not. That's put in there for cheap methods, for cheap platinums, because that's the only way that game will sell. And whoever made that game probably knows it. So
yeah, if you wanted to use it to bolster your numbers between your big games, then you do you. Whatever. I can't say anything because I tried it just out of curiosity. I believe in the sort of, you've got your big games and your small games, and then if you're well into the trophy hunting and the numbers, you can use these kind of cheap, easy platinum games to up your numbers a little bit, but whatever, each to their own. Oh, and my last game I've been playing, my most recent platinum trophy as of yesterday was Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped in the N. Sane trilogy. The trilogy is complete. I now have all 3 platinum trophies for that collection of games, and I'm feeling a little bit sad now that it's all over, because as a kid, those games were the games I grew up. They were the games that sort of like molded me into a gamer during my childhood. And just to play them again was fantastic. And now that they're sort of gone again, so to speak, now that I've done all the trophies and had my fill, it's kind of left me like a little bit wanting. But it's good though. Challenging games.
Yeah, tell you what, and sorry, do you have good internet?
Do I have good internet?
Yeah, because you can do a share play and then you can do it for me then if you want, because I haven't done platinum on any of them, man. If you still want to play it, then you can do it for me then on account of you.
It's 1 is the hardest by far. The time trials, 2 is easier, and 3 is definitely the easiest. Now, the way I think this is working is because when the original 3 was made, they designed the levels and the layouts to accommodate time trials, or at least time trials were made to accommodate the levels, either or whatever. 1 and 2 never had time trials in, so when Vicarious Visions have put the time trials into them, it feels like they're way more difficult. And I definitely had a harder time with 1 definitely, 2 not so much, and 3 was a breeze. I was getting gold relics on those time trials almost pretty much, I'd say 60%, 70% of the time, just first try. I don't think I had as much trouble as I did with 1 on that. So 3 is the easiest platinum. But I would say if you're interested in doing all 3, definitely start with 1. Like, don't go for the easiest platinum first, because you want to get over the hill of 1 first, get the hardest out of the way, and then the other 2 is like, it's easier. Because once you sort of mastered 1, the 2 and 3 are much easier by comparison. All right, so that's everything we've been playing currently this week. So we're going to move on to the news section for news in gaming this week. Now, we're not going to list everything that's happened this week, but we're going to go for the most recent one that's happened today. It was the big No Man's Sky update. The what's it? Atlas Rising, I believe, is the name of it. Atlas Rises, the big new patch for No Man's Sky. Atlas Rises. Just before we go into talking about it, I'll just do a quick read of a blog post here of what it's adding to the game. Okay, well, apparently this patch is adding 30 hours of story, more missions. This one is actually procedurally generated guild missions, deeper interstellar trading. Star systems have varying wealth, conflict, and economies. Overhaul space combat. Portal stargates enable quick travel. Terrain manipulation for more complex bases. New farming and mining interactions. Increased biome variety. It's got some UI improvements, galaxy map improvements, new class ships, low altitude flight improvements, freighters that you see flying around the galaxies, that they crash now on planets and you can salvage them. And also, probably the biggest thing to add is joint exploration, which is their kind of take on multiplayer, which a lot of people have asked for since the beginning. So, guys, thoughts on this? Who here has played it?
I have.
I have also.
I haven't.
And Void, you're the only one that hasn't played it. So, let's start with the person who hasn't played it. So, Void, someone who has observed it but obviously not played it, what is your take on this? You must have heard about the sort of
I've heard about
around the launch
problem at the launch, and I didn't get into the hype. I didn't saw any news about it. I didn't look at it, and I've been waiting for it to get better, and it seems to be a perfect moment to jump on it. The game is so cheap, and like they made so much patches. I think they're working really hard on it. So yeah,
free
definitely
as well.
next sale I will probably jump on it and test that game.
So I didn't play it from launch. So who here played it from launch? Claire, you played it from launch, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, these are the type of games I'm massively into, and it's pretty much the same type of game that I'm playing right now at the moment compared to Elite Dangerous. But I played it at launch, at midnight launch, and I had stayed up for it and played it a lot. And the trophy lists at launch was very easy to complete. I think it's gotten a little bit harder now with a patch with scanning some planets and stuff like that. It was very easy to do at the very start of launch. I actually was one of the first achievers on the PlayStation profiles to get it. But I mean, it's a credit to the guys. I thought it was a great game, but done by a small team. But it was completely marketed wrong, and that's probably the entire reason why it got the reception it did. It sounds like to me that they're only putting in the features that what the game was marketed like, what it should have been at launch right now, and like it was in the Void. It is free, so.
I agree with what you're saying about the marketing, but I also don't. I wouldn't personally lay this squarely on marketing. I think gamers as a community tend to hype themselves up and tend to. They have such high expectations of a game that they want it to be good. They want it to be their perfect game. And in social media and especially on Twitter, you've got a lot of it's like an echo chamber, and people do tend to bounce off of each other and get themselves really drummed up for these games, and they're only setting themselves up for disappointment. At least that's what I believe anyway. Since they showed off the launch trailer, I remember them showing it off at E3 and then a lot of marketing pieces about it. But I think people may have read too deep into it. I know they were being a little bit vague with the details of it, but I think
they did say it was multiplayer, though. You know what I mean? They did say that we could be multiplayer.
They 2 weeks before the game came out, they tweeted saying it did not have multiplayer. So that's literally a fault of people for not following them for news, because they did confirm no multiplayer at launch. It's just that wasn't widely communicated. It was tweeted out 2 weeks at a time, and obviously most people did never see that. So that's where the problem lies. It was communicated too late, and people assumed something that never happened, and they didn't see the truth in time, so to speak.
Okay, well, that's for me, my experience with it. I didn't buy it at launch. I bought it, I'm not sure the exact time frame, but quite a bit later when the first massive patch, was it called the Pathfinder patch or something like that? It was the last one that added pro support and whatnot. I bought it around that time. That's when I bought in a sale as well. I think I got it for about £15, and I liked it. I wasn't going in with huge expectations that people had for the game at launch. I had seen the controversy on Twitter and on the internet, and people, going off on these big tirades about it. And I took all that into consideration, and I played it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. And in sticking to talking about trophies, what Claire said, it was easy when he did it, but they patched it and they made scanning entire 10 whole planets legit. I think, Claire, didn't you manage to sort of cheese it a little bit?
Yeah, there was I can't remember the cheese now, but it was basically you had to go onto one planet and you only had to scan one type of something.
So you could upload a dead planet, so a planet without any enemies on it, and that counts.
That was it,
which has now been changed. Yeah, it was actually if people had the launch version 1.0, then you had there's something else was even easier as well. Like you had to survive the harsh weather in a certain circumstance or something.
Yeah.
That was very early, but if you had the original physical version, you had that cheat as well. So those two, cheats, if you will, combined made the platinum very easy at launch.
Yeah, I remember doing the surviving in a harsh environment, but they had sort of fixed that in the sort of pro patch, because it wasn't too tricky for me. I just left my system idling and turned my TV off, and that only took, I think, not even a few hours. It wasn't long. It wasn't a whole day, and I got that pretty easy. I think they fixed that. The planets is the longest one, cataloging all the planets, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the exploration of it. That's what I was in for. I didn't really do any of the trading, and I didn't do any of the build.
Have you got the platinum trophy on the game?
Yeah, I have. I did. I got the platinum for it, and I liked it. I thought it was good. Am I going to jump back in this update? No, not because basically I've platinumed the game. I've had my fill of it. I played it for a long time, got it all done, and it's not for me. But if this is drawing people back in, then excellent. Maybe more people will have the platinum on our Discord server, on our leaderboards in I don't know, a few weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, ever it takes them to do all this new content. I know that doesn't add to the DLC won't add to the platinum, of course, because it's a separate list if they add new trophies. But I'm just saying that.
No, and we don't know if they are adding new trophy neither.
Yeah, we don't know if they're adding new trophies. I was just speaking hypothetically. If they did add new trophies,
I think that would have been in the blog post. That would really entice people to come back. I think trophies. That's kind of what we're all about here. So it would probably make a lot of people go back. But I didn't see it in the blog post, and they did make an official blog post, didn't they? I believe correctly.
Yes, they made a blog post. I have it here, but I don't think they mentioned anything about additional.
I just think that would have been something that would have been something that you would mention when you announced it.
No, I'm thinking they might add it. They added a few extra trophies with the last patch. That was to do with the base building, like find someone else's base that they built, etc., etc. So they did add a few. I think I'm going to be positive and say I think they probably will add trophies to it. If you haven't played it, what a time to pick it up! It's basically, I described it on Twitter as basically a sequel. They've built everything that people kind of wanted from the first game, so to speak. So it's like a whole new product, really. And if you already own it and maybe didn't get on with it, and now it's basically refreshing the game again, it's good to get back into it. Maybe I'd say definitely give it a go. It's a free update and it's adding all this content, so why not give them the benefit of the doubt? And who knows, this might actually please a lot of people going forward. Does anyone else have anything to add about No Man's Sky before we move on?
I mean, I just want to say, I mean, the sort of gentle beginning to multiplayer is pretty interesting. Even though it's not actually multiplayer, it's just floating orbs at the moment. It opens up potential, which they acknowledge as well. So hopefully, it turns into fully fledged. Because I mean, that is actually one thing I think that could really. I'm not sure. I don't want to say turn around the game, but it could really open up the game to a whole new audience if it was suddenly considered a co-op experience entirely. So if they could actually do proper co-op, I think that would be really good for the game.
Yeah, sure. If they can pull that off, because that's basically one of the really big things that people expected when it very first launched, that they wanted to buddy up with their friends and go and explore the galaxy together. And now, I think now that they're introducing this orb thing, it's a little step closer. But you're not a character in the game. I don't think you are a character model. All we ever see is.
And I think that's why you're seeing orbs.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of them not being able to do multiplayer. I think it's a matter of there's nothing to display for other players. You are nothing. You're a floating camera right now. Or I guess now we're orbs, but there's no person. So now you have to figure out, well, how do we look? How do we interact? What can you do? Can you wave? All that stuff has to be sorted out. And I'm sure they're working on it, but it's probably not the highest priority. I would imagine it's coming, but it's a whole new thing they have to figure out.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, moving on then. We're going to go on to our next segment. I'm just checking the podcast channel if anyone's got any questions for us. Doesn't seem so at this time. So what we'll do is we'll just move on to the new releases for trophy lists this week. We've got 3 games in particular that we're going to look at. We're looking at the trophy lists here on PSN Profiles. Let me just bring up the lists that I've got. Okay, from PSN Profiles this week, we're looking at 3 games. We are looking at Hellblade. We're going to look at Graceful Explosion Machine. And we're also going to look at Telltale's Batman. Okay, so first things first, Hellblade. We're just going to talk about the trophies here. We're not really going to go in depth about the games or the style or anything like that. We're just looking new trophy lists here. Okay, so looking at just talking about trophies for Hellblade, it seems that a lot of people have already acquired the platinum for it. It seems, at least I looked at the Discord server on launch day, and people already have posting screenshots for it. I don't know if you guys have also noticed that as well.
Yeah, I saw it everywhere on Twitter. And
yeah, it looks like it's a game that you could complete very, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much details about the names of the trophies because I don't want to potentially spoil anything here. But it looks basically like you've got story trophies, some collectible trophies, I believe, just trying to gather from the descriptions. And there's also some challenges as well.
There is one collectible, and all the rest seems to be some challenges and story.
Yeah, looking at the rarity percentage on PSN Profiles, which, as we know, is made up primarily of trophy hunters. So the percentage here will be higher than it is on, say, PSN. But we're looking at a 12.68% acquisition percentage for the platinum here, which is, I'd say, pretty average, pretty common so far. The game's still brand new, so a lot of people are still yet to buy it.
It's 200 platinum achievers.
Mm-hmm.
On the 2 days? Not bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's too bad at all. I'm definitely going to buy it. It's going to be one of my next games. I'm very, very, very interested in it. I have been from the start. I am a fan of Ninja Theory's games. Really enjoyed their previous games, such as Heavenly Sword. Really enjoyed Enslaved Odyssey to the West, and DMC Devil May Cry. I'm a fan of Devil May Cry, and I like their particular take on that series. But unless anyone's got anything else to add about this particular trophy list,
I'll probably jump on it too.
Yeah,
yeah,
that will come. Yeah. And the game is not expensive too.
No,
it's not like a full AAA release price.
Yeah, they're trying to carve out a new sort of indie AAA market, as they describe it, and all the best to them actually, because I think that's what we need. We need something that's sort of in between the your sort of indie tier and your big expensive AAA tier video games. So yeah, excellent. I hope this does really well for them. I'm very interested, and I'm definitely will be talking about it in a future episode of this podcast. Okay, so moving on to the next one. I haven't actually brought up the trophy list for this one because it's Telltale's Batman, the season 2 of their Batman series. The reason I haven't brought up this trophy list is because there's not really too much to discuss about Telltale games in regards to trophies. If it's like any other Telltale game, you pretty much guaranteed a platinum at the end of it, except for the only Telltale game I can think of where I needed to replay it or I missed it was The Wolf Among Us. It had kind of diary entries or journal entries, I believe, which were missable. So
there is Back to the Future too. Make you do a couple more stuff.
Yes, of course. So
that's
when
a
I
nightmare.
think Telltale, yeah, I've done it, and when I've done it twice actually on PS3 and PS4.
That's a nightmare game. I wouldn't do it twice, man. After doing it once, I was like, no way, man. It's like they took the difficulty of all the other Telltale games and stuck it into one game, you know?
Yeah, I think the reason I didn't mention Back to the Future is I think I deliberately pushed it to the back of my mind because I didn't have a great time with it. I mean, the first time I played it through, I enjoyed it, but I had a particularly bad time on PS4 version, the 30th anniversary edition. It just kept crashing on me, so I had a really, really bad time.
Yeah,
with
same
it.
here.
It was
I only played the PS4 version and I kept on crashing, and like at this one particular moment, like every single time after near the first end of the first episode and near the end of the 5th episode, so like 2 individual spots in my entire game.
Oh no, mine was worse than that. Mine was much worse. Mine kept crashing pretty much every half an hour. It would just, every time there was a scene transition, it would just lock up, and then because it didn't auto save in time, I had to keep replaying like whole half-hour sections and just wishing it will not, just hoping it will not freeze again. I think it took me twice as long to get through that game than the actual length of the game, just because of the crashes. I don't know, because mine was pretty bad. It sounds like you had a few problems. Other people say they have no problems at all. So it's a tricky one to discuss.
Well, I mean,
really.
You were saying that from the game performances, but it's not even just like a typical Telltale game where the game performance is bad. The game will crash, but you only just have to like make decisions and not worry about the trophies. But in Back to the Future, like every single trophy is something you have to worry about or is missable.
Yeah.
So you'll have to replay the entire episode then, and then endure all the crashes again. You know, there's that one famous part that's a nightmare where you're trying to like mix the alcohol for fuel for the. I think it's in the first episode or something like that. You know. You have to do it in a certain way. That's a crazy part, man.
Oh yeah, that's it. Where Emmett's dad is on the stairs above and he's shouting kind of like keywords down to you, like, "Oh, this really boils my blood," and then you have to go and turn a tap to boil some fluid.
Yeah.
So hard.
Yeah. I don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the game when I first played it on PS3, and I picked it up cheap on PS4 for the 30th anniversary edition. Thought, oh, easy platinum. I'll play this game again because I didn't mind it first time, and the second time kind of soured it for me. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. The Batman, Telltale Batman. I really, really liked the first season. I played it and platinumed it both on PS4 and PS3. And speaking of glitches and crashes, I had a really bad crash on the second to last episode of the PS3 version. It was a game-breaking one, and I couldn't get past it until they patched it about a week later after it came out. Really frustrating at the time. The PS4 had a few little weird visual glitches, but that's kind of something you expect from Telltale games, and I don't mean that in a bad way or a negative way. It just happens. The games are built for so many different platforms. It's kind of almost expected, really. But generally, they don't spoil my enjoyment of the story, and the gameplay is very simplistic as well. Your decisions, you move your character around. So, in terms of trophies, like I said, it's pretty much a guaranteed platinum unless they have decided to implement some kind of collectibles or whatnot. But judging from the last batch of Telltale games that have been out over the years, I'm thinking it's most likely just to guarantee platinum at the end of it. So naturally, I will be getting that because I enjoy Telltale games, and I also enjoy platinums with very little effort put into them. Anyone else interested in Telltale Batman Season 2?
I'm interested for sure. I will play it. Love superhero, but I will wait until all the season is released and probably the first sale and pick it up.
That's a good way to buy them. I don't generally buy them individually. I always pick up the season pass when it's on sale because they tend the season passes are always on sale very quickly.
Yeah, it'll come on sale for sure.
Okay. If no one's got any more to add today, I'm going to go on to our final game in our new releases section, and that is Graceful Explosion Machine. Now, I personally have been playing this a lot recently because it's on Nintendo Switch. It launched on Nintendo Switch as a sort of timed exclusive for it, and I really like the game on the Switch. I play it casually. It's fun. It's sort of a side-scroller shoot 'em up style game. It's got a very kind of 80s video game vibe to it. It has a real strong it's really strong Metroid vibe to it as well. The music really reminds you of Metroid, and you're just a little ship in sort of like an endless cave, and you just have to shoot all the enemies and take them out. And it's kind of like wave based, and you complete all the levels, then you move to the next planet. And when I saw it was coming to PS4, I was like, oh, this could be really interesting because I really like it on Switch. And I had a look at the trophy list, and it's probably a big no from me, to be honest, because it's got one of those like S rank an entire planet. S rank, like, because you've got levels, then there's about 9 levels to a planet, and then there's in the Switch version 4 planets. So you've got S rank an entire planet, S rank all planets. And speaking from experience, it's for me, I don't think I've even got an A rank in that game. It can be very, very tricky. It's got a very steep learning curve to it, difficulty curve. I mean, sorry. It can get very intense with all the enemies on the screen. So I don't think I'll be picking it up for PS4. I have it on Switch anyway, and I do enjoy it. I really like it, but it's not for me in regards to trophy hunting. I'd like to see how people get on with it though. Doesn't look like on PSN profiles anyone has the platinum yet. It seems. I'm just double checking now, but it's at. Oh no! Wait, hold on. I think someone might have it. Someone's bound to have it. One person so far, and that
12
was
hours ago.
Yeah, that was today.
Probably played before the game was released.
Well, good for them. Good for them. It is a tricky game. It is a tricky game, but for me, I'm just happy playing it without trophies on the Switch, just real casual, because I can imagine myself getting quite stressed at this to push for S ranks. I mean, I don't have the finesse for this. I'm no good at what's it called? Resogun. I'm no good at that game, and it's basically the same type of game, really. It's the same type of thing. But Void, you've platinumed Resogun, haven't you?
Yeah, platinum Resogun on the Vita and on PlayStation.
Oh well, I recommend you check out Graceful Explosion Machine because I think it would be right up your alley. I think you'd actually really enjoy it because it's basically the same game, more or less, except it's not in a 3D circle. It's just a classic flat 2D shoot 'em up. But definitely have a look at it. I think I will be surprised if you don't get the platinum for this, because if you did a Resogun, I think you could probably do this as well. So
yeah, probably Resogun. It's hard when you start, but like I don't know, the muscle memory get in at some point when you just play, and you're able to get some pretty good score at the end.
Absolutely. Has anyone else seen Graceful Explosion Machine?
Nope.
No. Okay, well, now on to our Tricky Trophies segment, where we look back through our trophy collections at some of the most challenging, rage-inducing gameplay, or maybe just plain boredom and grinding that we've had to endure just for that one single trophy that gives us the platinum. So I've asked the fellow hosts to look through their PSN profiles or PSNs and see if they can find a game from the past. It can be years ago, from PS3 era, PlayStation Vita, PS4, to pick out a game at random almost and see if they can look for a trophy that gave them the most trouble for that game. I'm going to start off actually to set the precedent for this segment. The one I'm going to say at the moment for the game I picked was Fallout 4. And this particular trophy was the Benevolent Leader Trophy. This was for getting 100% happiness in a large settlement. Now, I've seen a lot of people complain about this over the years with Fallout 4. And those who haven't played it or haven't really looked into this particular trophy, in the game, you have settlements. You can build a settlement, build a little village, town, what have you. You have resources, farming, people come and join it. You've just got to keep people alive, fed, watered, build shelter for them, and while you're doing all this, you have a happiness meter in your menus, and it goes up to 100. And the trophy is for getting 100% happiness in one of your settlements. And this is really quite annoying because it doesn't work like you think it works. I had to put a lot of time into it. I had to do a lot of research, listening to other people's methods, watching YouTube videos, because I don't know how the game actually measures the happiness. Because a lot of people say sometimes certain items you put in your settlements, like for example, one thing I heard or read was televisions. Some people say televisions up the happiness. Some people say televisions actually lower the happiness. So it's a constant fight. Also, shops. You need to put shops in your settlement to increase happiness, and shops cost a lot of caps.
Lots of shops.
The in-game, lots and lots of shops. We're talking ridiculous amounts of like the same shop, basically, just to keep your happiness up, level, stable, or rising to 100. And it took me, I can't even remember how many hours, but it was one of the late game trophies for me. And if that trophy wasn't in the game, Fallout 4 would be, it's not a hard game anyway to platinum because there is no difficulty trophy for it. You can just play the whole game on easy, which I did, and I had a blast. I didn't need to play that game on hard mode. I thought it was challenging enough on easy to get everything done. It's such a broad game. I didn't want the difficulty to like weigh me down, like constantly dying. So I just thought easy and just have a nice time, and I did. In fact, I really enjoyed Fallout 4. And if it weren't for that trophy, it would have taken considerably less time and less annoyance. But that's that. That's what I can say. That's my tricky trophy for this week. Claire, let's go with you. What's the tricky trophy of yours to pick out this week?
Well, I gotta definitely have an equal kind of tricky trophy. I did also do that Benevolent Leader, and that definitely was a tricky trophy as well. But the one I've chosen it was from one I did. It was Grand Theft Auto Vice City from the PlayStation 2 game, obviously on the PlayStation 4 with the trophy list on it.
Yeah.
It has an insane trophy that it would actually be impossible to get, even for the best Grand Theft Auto player out there. To play the game normally it would be impossible to get because you basically have to get to something called like Godfather status, where it's a criminal status. So you have to like go from like nothing to the very top, you know. But the criminal rating the Godfather rating is basically. The trophy is Take the Cannoli, but the Godfather rating, it's a mixture of a lot of different factors, like how many bullets you've shot, how many people you've killed, how many have broken the law, and how much damage you've taken and stuff like that. And unless you're absolutely perfect within a margin, you're never going to achieve the Godfather rating. And like, there's only one way to actually get the trophy. There's only one way to play the entire game to get this trophy. You'd have to depends on how you plan it. The way I did it was that I started a new game and I never let anybody shoot at me. I never did anything like that. I had to go around the entire map, even using glitches to get out of the first map to go around the entire thing, like using a cheat to use the vehicles on water. You had to collect all the 80 out of 100 different packages, and then you had to make a save game right at that point, so you could continue on the game as normal, and then just come back to that point, because at that point nobody has shot at you, and you haven't taken any damage, and you haven't shot at anybody, so you haven't messed with the percentages rates. And then at that point, you needed the 80 packages so that a certain helicopter would spawn in the middle island of like the end game main house. And you get in that and you go to the movie station, and then when you're in the movie station, it's the chopper that's to be able to shoot. You basically have to angle the helicopter at a certain car that blows up, and the shell of the car never disappears, and you have to get the helicopter shooting that car, because it basically, when you're shooting the shell, it always counts as a bullet shot and a bullet hit, if you understand. So there's no miss rate, so your miss rate should be 100. You basically have to rubber band your controller for like 8 hours.
Oh, man.
Just to get to the criminal rating. Godfather, and
that is ridiculous.
There's no other way to get that trophy. It is impossible. Like, so when you read that trophy list, someone will tell you that you have to do it this way. It's
I think I looked up the trophy guide for that, and I didn't go into the detail of reading what you read, what you just described there. But yeah,
well, I mean, if you just played it, like if you did what I did, and you would play the game maybe for an hour or two, and then you get into the trophy list, you've already voided yourself, unless you want to start from the very start again. So, like I said, if you're going to actually play Grand Theft Auto, the very first thing you should do, and to avoid having to collect all the 80 collectibles or 80 packages again, you should do it at the very, very start. And yet, like I said, you have to go into the settings, and you're allowed like 100 bullet shot. So if you go over 100 bullets and you've collected the 80 packages, you may as well just quit, because it's going to add like, for every 10 bullets that shot over 100 bullets, it adds like 5 hours of the rubber banding onto it. Like,
I tried.
That's a tricky trophy. That is a tricky trophy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just on a quick note about those PS2 to PS4 GTA games, I tried San Andreas, and I put maybe somewhere between 6 and 10, 12 hours into that game, and after a while, I just gave up. I just absolutely just discarded the game. It's because those games are old, and that's not a bad thing. It's just for trophy hunting and like just enjoyment. It can compound the frustration. And
I did it worst. Like you were saying with Crash, you should start off with the hardest one first, and so you're over the hill. I worked backwards. I did San Andreas, then I did Vice City, where you couldn't control the camera with the right analog stick, and then the very last one I've yet to do is Grand Theft Auto 3. That's even worse. Like, you can't. It's like, it's so bad. Like, it's really
not
hard.
For me, but massive props to you though for doing that. Absolutely fantastic. Your patience is patience of a saint.
Well, Vice City is my favorite, so there was no way I was not gonna have that platinum. So that's the way I looked at it.
Okay, all right. Well, moving on to the next person for tricky trophies. DK, what is your tricky trophy choice for this week?
Yes, so this is a hard one to live up to, obviously. Nothing as elaborate, nothing as nearly as difficult. But the one I've picked this week is one that I'm sure a lot of people have endured, because I'm sure a lot of people have this platinum, and it's the Air Cannon Codex entry for the challenge, for the Codex entry trophy on Battlefield 1. So the one where you have to shoot down 10 planes in 30 seconds.
I read about this, yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't take me too long. It took me about 45 minutes, but it was 45 minutes of a lot of bad words, shouting, almost breaking my controller in half, because I was very, very angry at that game at that point. It is a very frustrating trophy to get. I mean, perseverance, and you'll get there, but it's one of the tricky ones for sure.
I've read about that trophy because I was sort of my interest in Battlefield 1 has been piqued recently. I haven't played an FPS game in a while, and I thought, well, why not try one of the newer military shooter games, because I haven't played them all. And I did look that up, and I read about that trophy in particular. It seems that it's become harder since launch due to a patch. I read that if you own the physical version, a lot of people actually recommending rolling the patch back to the first build of the game, the first version of the game on the disc, and it's actually apparently easier than it is in the most current build of the game. But if you have the digital version, unfortunately, you're out of luck, because you can't obviously roll back to an earlier version if you have the digital version. So I'm assuming, DK, you have the digital version?
I think I have both. I'm not sure which one I played on. But I mean, I did it close to launch, so it was probably before this patch, I would assume. And I would just say, if it's even harder now, Godspeed to anyone who wants to actually take that on, because that is a really difficult one. You basically
sounds horrible.
You need it's a matter of knowing exactly when every plane is where, and then basically adjusting the sensitivity of your cannon until it's just perfect for you, and it's an individual for everyone, just perfect for you, and then eventually you will get it. It is very tricky, but yeah, nothing as enduring as the GTA stuff sounds, for sure.
Oh, okay. Well, good work. I don't know whether that's going to put me off playing Battlefield 1 or not. To be honest, I'll have to look a little bit.
There may be some truth into what you were saying, that maybe they did fix it, because Battlefield 1 is something I played at launch, and I'll be honest, like, I didn't even put any thought into that trophy. It just kind of popped for me. I didn't even realize. But like, I remember a lot of other people, like Shingo and a few other guys that we know, they were saying that it was very tough. That's kind of happened to me in other games. Like I've asked somebody about a trophy, and they were like, "Oh, well, that trophy just came to me naturally," and I'm like, "Well, I can't do it."
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
everyone's different. They have
Yeah,
strengths and weaknesses
but there
in
may
their
be some
gameplay.
truth to it. Maybe, like I said, because I know, like I played it straight away, and I still kind of have it on digitally and stuff like that. But like I know, I remember when DK was playing it, and it still was a little bit after launch, even though it was considered around the launch kind of period. You know what I mean? So maybe unless they
Yeah.
change something in between that, but for me,
Okay. All right then. Moving on. Void, what's your tricky trophy for this week?
Yeah, my trophy I want to talk about is World's End. It's actually completing New Game Plus on Darkest Dungeon. So if people
Okay.
don't know about Darkest Dungeon, it's a really hard game. It's considered a super hard game, super popular on Twitch, interactive with people, and the game is already hard to finish normally. So when you pass to the New Game Plus, it's become even trickier because the trophy actually asks you to finish the game in 90 weeks in game. So it's basically 90 dungeon. Plus, you have to, if you lose more than 10 heroes before the final battle, you just you have a big game over on your screen and your save file is deleted.
Ah.
And it take a lot of time. You have to put a lot of time into leveling up your character, and to beat the game in Darkest Dungeon, you need to have you need to beat the 4 Darkest Dungeon, and they required you to have 16 heroes level 6. So it take a bit of time, but it was hard. It was hard. It was extreme. It was probably the most stressful trophy I ever done because you don't want to fail. You don't want to put so many hours in one trophy, and it's the last trophy before the platinum.
What was your sort of when you got the trophy? How far off of it were you from failing the trophy?
I had 5. If I remember well, I had 5 hero debt.
Mm-hmm.
So out of 10, but there is a little bit more RNG on the game plus, and the enemy do a lot of damage. So sometimes you just don't expect it, and you have one champion that die. So I had 5 dead, and it took me only 45 weeks to beat the game, and you have until 90. But that's depend how many of them you lose, and when you lose them. If you lose them at the beginning, you don't need as much time. But if I will have lost more heroes, they'll definitely take more time. And
Well, that
it's
to me sounds completely off-putting. I have no interest in
yeah,
Darkest Dungeon anyway, but
yeah. It's not a
that
game that you
sounds.
start thinking like, oh, I will go for the platinum trophy. It's a game that I started because it was looking fun, and I never expect to get the platinum until I got it. You don't
Yeah,
realize.
sure.
It sounds like a game where cloud storage is your very best friend. Just to avoid
Yeah,
losing your save file after spending countless hours getting through that.
I think you could do it. I haven't used it, but it's probably possible to do it.
Okay, well,
So
that brings us to the end of that segment. With our next section, we're just going to have a little talk about the Discord server. What's been going on the server? Any news? Any new additions? Leaderboards and any updates? And the two people who are the most informed on the Discord server would be Claire and DK. So, have you guys got anything to mention in this segment?
I
well,
got something to mention.
yeah, go ahead, Void.
Oh, go on, Void.
Yeah, this week it's awesome. The rarity leaderboard is becoming so rare and everything, but we got someone that managed to reach the top 1. There's like Giuseppe G11 that managed to get a DJ Hero 2 Platinum at 0.34% to take the top 1 this week of the rarity leaderboard. That's
Awesome
pretty
job.
cool.
Yeah, so we got a new first place entry. It'd be pretty hard to get a
Yeah.
0.31%.
It's interesting that DJ Hero 2 just beat the old one was DJ Hero 1 too, so it's the same game, just
I could.
Those rhythm games are tricky anyway. Those sort of rhythm games. I've
Yeah.
not had any experience with DJ Hero, but just basing it on.
I used to play Guitar Hero religiously with a group of friends in a house for months, so that's my experience with rhythm games. But they can be quite challenging. But I think like a lot of people that I know, types of people who would have bought that would never be trophy hunters. So I can probably understand why a lot of it didn't go for platinum.
Okay. Anything else about Discord?
Yeah, well, just I wanted to give a shout out to actually DK Shadow here because obviously he's been running out the leaderboard ever since it started for the last 6 months, but he's given the mantle over here now to Mania, who's going to be running it here now from now on. But I just want to say thanks because it did take a lot of effort. I'm not sure people realised how much effort it took to wade through all the posts. So I wanted to thank him for his effort going on there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good that everyone is starting to come round and uh, keeps the chat to a minimum in the community trophies challenge room. It's you can see how it's much more streamlined sort of room now, and it's just easier to tally it all up. So thanks to everyone for cooperating with that. It really does help.
I think it looks cleaner, and I think it's definitely encouraged more emoji use, which I think is better as well. And you can obviously recommend some of that stuff to us as well. But I also wanted to go over actually a little bit of the leaderboard numbers because I just every time I read the leaderboards and what we're able to achieve, I just can't believe it. Like at the moment, not including anything for August, but since we started the leaderboard at the start of the year. I'll let people know our first month. We wanted, was it 25? Was it DK? Was that it?
I think 25. Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to get 25 a month, and then we smashed it. We got like 75 that month, and we were all really proud. But it's so far last month we actually did our best ever, and it's nearly almost double the total amount of platinums that I have. But it's basically last month we did 370 platinums in total, the entire group. Oh, I mean, that's a huge number. Like,
we have more and more people joining, but it's not that many people. You know what I mean? So it's for 370 platinums is incredible. I mean, shout out to everyone who's put in trophies on that list. That is job well done, guys.
You can also probably get the idea of the scope of what would need to be done to manage a leaderboard like that that's ever increasing every single month with new users joining, more people getting platinums. We're all letting each other know about the cheaper, like shorter games or easier games, giving each other tips and stuff like that on games. So I think everyone's earning a lot more. But now you can see, like, if we got 370 platinums, then each one of those would have had to been verified and everything. So I just wanted to really thank DK for that past service, and Manny's done a great job of kind of organized into a table. So we're going to have like a history of it going forward. So
yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with the overhaul we've done because we actually had the leaderboard since last year. It's just we made it an official thing with an actual challenge from this year. But the leaderboards themselves have existed for about a year now. But yeah, I'm very happy we've done the overhaul. It's made it a lot easier for Mania. It's still a ton of work. So yeah, kudos to him and thank you for taking that over. It's been a rough year for me keeping up because people are collecting a ton of platinums and just more every month. Yeah, I mean the new overhaul, more than making it easier for Maniac going forward, is also it just makes it easier for all of you guys to see what other people are playing and get inspiration for trophies. So all in all, it's a really good upgrade.
Yeah, the community is growing.
Absolutely, like we're getting loads, like Discord is upgrading as well, so as that upgrades we're going to be able to add more features and stuff like that, but we've got a lot of stuff planned and all that to come, and with the organization brought to the leaderboard we'll be able to post a lot more stats and information about it, like the top 10 trophy hunters of the year. I have the list here. Luckily I'm on it, but I don't think I'm going to be on it for too long with the rates. Some people get platinums. But number two actually we have on the podcast here, which is Void. He's at 52 for the year. He's got 52 platinums this year, which is fantastic, halfway through the year. But like, just to give you an idea of the amount of effort DK had to put in, he tallied it all the way up until now, and up until now we've all earned 1,387 platinums since January 1st.
That's when you break it down, that's a crazy amount of like trophy lists, individual trophies, and also just the sheer amount of man hours put into that number is insane.
6 months, yeah. So I mean, it's been crazy. It's been fantastic, and to see those kind of numbers. So I mean, it's doubling, or well, it's not doubling, but it's increasing every single month. So I think it's only going to get more and more. So I'm really interested in the stats going forward. And like I said, because we've done that organization of it, going to be able to post like little bits of information and all that from it as well. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so everyone keep an eye on the leaderboards, and more to come in the future. Anyone else want to add anything before we begin the wrap up?
Nope.
Doesn't sound like it.
No? Okay then. Okay, fair enough. All right then. So, well, I think that's about it for this week. So, big thanks to everyone who listened to our pilot episode last week. Big thanks to everyone who has listened to this, either now in the live audience. Thank you for the live audience participating as well in the podcast channel on our Discord server. Thanks for all your comments. Perhaps next week we'll have some more questions from the live audience as more people become aware of this this becoming like a weekly thing. So, big thanks to that. Thank you for all our support, for sharing on social media, as I mentioned before. We're just going to keep trying to improve this as we go along. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, really. I've been Dazil. You can find me at the Dazil on Twitter. Claire, where can people find you?
Here on the Discord server mainly, and then at Claire88 Gaming.
DK, where can people find you?
On Discord, of course, and on Twitter at DK Shadow.
And Void, where are you at?
On Twitter at PVT Void.
Okie dokie. Well, that is it for us here this week at the Trophy Trust. Again, thank you for listening and happy hunting. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.